Night had just fallen, like a soft velvet curtain covering familiar street corners. The yellow streetlights bounced off the road surface, still covered in cold dew, creating dim streaks of light. Emma walked slowly on the familiar path, her heart gently drifting along the stream of memories. 2 years have passed since Lucas left this world. 2 years was enough for the wounds to gradually heal, but never enough to ease the dull pain in her heart. Emma pulled her light blue scarf up a little higher, trying to stay warm in the chilly early winter weather. She had just finished her shift, returning home from the small library where she worked. The streets were deserted, with only a few people passing by hurriedly, while Emma's mind wandered into distant memories. Sometimes, memories of Lucas still appear clearly, as if just yesterday he was standing here, right next to her, walking through peaceful days together. She sighed softly, feeling like her heart was being taken over by old memories. Her steps gradually slowed down when a familiar figure on the other side of the street entered her sight. Emma stopped walking, her eyes wide with surprise. Her heart almost stopped beating in her chest. No, it can't be. It's Lucas. Lucas, the man she once loved dearly, who left her forever after a terrible car accident 2 years ago, was now standing just a few meters away from her. His jet black hair was illuminated by the streetlights. Those familiar deep eyes were still looking into the distance, as if they had never left this world. He stood there, amidst the bustling flow of people, but everything around him seemed to have no effect on him. He stood silently, his eyes distant as if waiting for someone. Emma's heart was beating so hard, each beat seemed to rush, as if it wanted to burst out of her chest. She stood frozen in the middle of the street, unable to believe her eyes. The noise of the street suddenly disappeared, leaving only her and the man she once loved more than life itself. A moment that lasted like a millennium. Emma couldn't move, couldn't say a word, and didn't dare move even a little bit. But then Emma seemed to wake up, trying to muster up the courage to walk towards that man. The first steps were very difficult, as if there was some invisible weight holding her back, not wanting her to take even one more step. But she couldn't stop, couldn't miss this opportunity. She had already lost him once, and now, no matter how crazy this was, she couldn't let him disappear again. The closer she got, the more clearly Emma saw every line on Lucas's face. Memories and images of the past came rushing back, as clear as if they had just happened yesterday. She still clearly remembers the feeling every time she looked up at him, every time he smiled gently and reached out to hold her hand. But is this really Lucas, or just an illusion that she misses so much that she wants it to come true? When she was only a few feet away, Emma stopped. The man remained standing still, not paying attention to her presence. Emma called softly, her voice trembling and full of emotion. "Lucas, is that you?" The man turned around, his eyes meeting Emma's. In that moment, everything around seemed to stop completely. But his eyes were full of surprise, as if he had never met her, as if she was just a stranger who accidentally called his name in the middle of a crowded street. "Sorry, you've got the wrong person," he replied gently but firmly. Emma was stunned, not knowing what to do next. She looked closely at the man in front of her, trying to find some trace to make sure this was not Lucas. But the more she looked, the more her heart confirmed that the person in front of her eyes was definitely him. Even though he tried to act strange, those eyes and that voice were all painfully familiar. "You couldn't be anyone else but Lucas. I can't be wrong," Emma repeated, trying to control the tears that were about to spill out. The man still remained silent, but this time his eyes were no longer cold. There was a moment of confusion, a moment of wavering on his face. Emma realized that, and she knew that her feeling was not wrong. "Lucas, don't you recognize me?" Emma stepped closer, so close that she could hear the other person's breathing. Her voice was gentle but contained determination and a bit of pleading, wanting him to admit the truth. He sighed softly, finally opened his mouth. A familiar deep voice rang out, making Emma's heart tremble. "Emma, you shouldn't have seen me like this." Lucas's words were like a bolt of lightning striking through her mind. She couldn't hold back her tears anymore. They just kept flowing. There was no way to stop them. She moved closer, her trembling hand holding his, feeling the familiar warmth that had captivated her for so many years. "Why are you here? Why are you still alive and not looking for me?" Emma asked, her voice breaking into small pieces. Lucas was silent, his eyes filled with pain and regret. He didn't dare look directly at Emma, just lowered his head and said softly, "Because I made a big mistake, Emma. An unforgivable mistake. I chose to disappear to protect you, so you could continue your life without me." Emma heard what Lucas said, but she didn't understand. She only knew that the man she loved, who seemed to have left this world forever, was now standing right in front of her, in flesh and blood. But why did he choose to hide this truth? What secret is hiding behind making him accept to live another life, a life without her? There were still too many unclear things about their story, too many things that Emma couldn't fully understand. But one thing is for sure, this unexpected and shocking encounter completely changed Emma's life. She doesn't know what the future will be, doesn't know whether old wounds will be healed or not. But Emma knows that the moment she meets Lucas again is the beginning of a mysterious journey that she must embark on. A journey to find the truth, to heal her heart, and to better understand the man she thought she had lost forever. After Lucas passed away, Emma's life was no longer the same. She used to believe that time could heal all wounds, that the pain would gradually ease over the years. But the truth is not like that. The pain did not fade. It just changed from intense waves into underground streams that silently crept into her soul, able to roll back whenever she was at her weakest. Emma realized that no time was long enough to ease the feeling of loss, and she also did not want it to disappear. Because if the pain disappears, perhaps the memory of Lucas will fade too. Life after Lucas left with Emma was never easy. Every little corner of the small house they lived together contained images and memories of him. Every morning when she woke up, Emma still unconsciously looked at the pillow next to her, hoping to see Lucas's familiar eyes, only to be faced with a cold void, a harsh reality reminding her that Lucas was no longer there. Lucas passed away in a mysterious accident that Emma still doesn't fully understand to this day. The police quickly closed the case as a simple traffic accident, but there were many details that could not be explained. For example, Lucas's phone disappeared without a trace, or his car was found in a place far from the route he usually took home from work. Emma asked the police many times about these strange things, but all she received was silence, head shakes, and vague answers. The silence from the investigative agency only made her more tormented, unable to safely accept Lucas's death as a simple truth. In Emma's heart, there always existed a strange belief that Lucas had never really left her. Even though her mind told her that she needed to accept the truth, her heart still hoped, as if Lucas was still present somewhere. In every unintentional moment, in every glance, she unconsciously directed towards a hidden corner of the house. There were long, sleepless nights when Emma clearly heard the sound of gentle footsteps walking through the familiar hallway, the sound of a window opening softly, or even a whisper like Lucas's still echoing somewhere. Even though her mind told her that these were just illusions of loneliness, her heart continued to nurture the belief that Lucas was trying to contact her, trying to send her some message that she could not yet clearly understand. Friends and relatives around Emma all tried to comfort her, advising her to move on, to open her heart to receive new things in life. But they don't understand that Lucas is not just a simple lover, but also the most important part of Emma's soul, an irreplaceable piece. The two of them shared everything in life, from the small joys to the deepest sadness. Now, when Lucas is no longer by her side, Emma feels like half of her soul has been torn out, disappearing forever with him. How can she continue to live normally when every moment reminds her of that heartbreaking absence? Emma decided to keep everything in the house intact. Every little thing of Lucas was still in the same place as the day he left. She was afraid that if she changed anything, she would lose the remaining memories of him. She didn't want to lose any trace of Lucas, even if it was just a small strand of hair stuck on his shirt, or the familiar scent of the jacket he often wore when it was cold. Those little things became priceless treasures, helping her retain the most beautiful moments the two of them had together. But no matter how much Emma held on, life continued to pass by indifferently and coldly. She still has to go to work every day, still have to smile in front of her colleagues and friends, even though her heart is broken. In the days that followed, Emma fell into a whirlwind of work, trying to fill the void left by Lucas with non-stop activities. She worked more, took on new projects, went away for more days on business, just so she wouldn't have to face the truth when she returned to an empty and cold house. But the more Emma tried to hide her pain, the more she realized she couldn't escape that feeling of loss. The pain does not go away. It is only covered by outer shells, weak shells that can crumble at any time when she is alone. Emma once thought that as long as she tried to get through the first few days, she would gradually get used to this feeling of loneliness, but that never happened. She never really adjusted to Lucas's absence, never truly accepted that he had left her forever. Every day that passes, Emma still harbors a little hope that Lucas will return, even though she knows it's just an illusion. But every time she was about to give up, something strange happened, like a vague signal that Lucas was still somewhere, silently watching her. One time, Emma accidentally discovered a letter Lucas wrote a long time ago, but it had strange details that she had never known before. Another time, she found a small key that he had lost, mysteriously appearing on her desk. These things make Emma wonder if there is a world where Lucas still exists parallel to her. Emma begins researching mysterious phenomena, trying to explain the strange things going on around her life. She gradually believed that Lucas had never really left her, that his soul still existed in some form, still silently protecting and watching over her every day. That belief gradually grew, becoming an important part of her life, an invisible motivation that helped her continue to live, continue to hope and search for the truth she always craved. Emma knows that maybe others will think she's crazy, that she's living in an illusion, but for her, it's a way to face her pain and find new meaning in life. She decided not to give up until she found the answer, whether it was a painful truth or a miracle beyond human understanding. And just like that, Emma continued to walk between old memories and fragile hopes, always believing that one day, the secrets behind Lucas's departure would be revealed, so that she could continue to live to the fullest, whether happy or painful, but at least without any doubts anymore. That afternoon, the city was engulfed in a thin mist, and the streetlights that had just come on were immediately reflected on the wet road. Emma walked slowly, her mind filled with thoughts that had no beginning or end. The pale yellow lights from the small roadside cafes shining down on the sidewalk seemed to paint old memories that she wanted to forget. She never thought that, at that moment, fate would once again place an unpredictable surprise before her eyes. Olivia's eyes suddenly stopped. Her heart seemed to stop beating for a beat when she saw a familiar figure standing on the street corner across the street. The man was standing against a shiny black car, his left hand in his pocket, his right hand holding his phone. His face was illuminated by the streetlight, so clear and familiar that it made Olivia pause, her heart aching painfully. "Sorry, I think you have the wrong person. I'm Liam, not Lucas." Olivia was stunned by his response. All her hopes and expectations suddenly disappeared like soap bubbles in the wind. But how can it be mistaken? Those eyes, that voice, and the way he stood, all were familiar down to the smallest detail. She was sure this was Lucas, but why did he deny it like that? She almost couldn't believe her eyes. "Lucas?" Olivia whispered, her voice shaking with emotion and confusion. Lucas, the man who had captured her heart for so long, the man she thought she would never see again. After he mysteriously disappeared from her life 3 years ago, Olivia stood rooted to the spot, as if her entire body no longer had the strength to move forward or backward. That feeling was like an electric current running down her spine, paralyzing all her thoughts and actions. Olivia took a deep breath, trying to stabilize the emotions swirling in her heart. Finally, she decided to step forward, each step light but full of hesitation. Her heart beat faster than ever. The chaotic thoughts in her head kept asking questions. Is this Lucas? Why did he appear here after all these years of disappearance? And if it were you, what would she say? When Olivia was a few steps away from the man, he suddenly looked up and met her eyes. The moment her eyes met, she felt like the entire world around her suddenly fell silent. Those eyes, that look, were clearly Lucas's. But why did he look at her with such a strange look? Lucas? Olivia softly called his name, her voice shaking, almost inaudible. She hoped that with just a name, a greeting, he would remember everything. But what shocked her most was the reaction of the man standing in front of her. He looked at her for a long moment, his face calm, his eyes expressionless. Then he spoke, calmly but firmly. Sorry, I think you have the wrong person. I'm Liam, not Lucas. Olivia was stunned by his response. All her hopes and expectations suddenly disappeared like soap bubbles in the wind. But how can it be mistaken? Those eyes, that voice, and the way he stood, all were familiar down to the smallest detail. She was sure this was Lucas, but why did he deny it like that? She shook her head, trying to stay calm, even though she was confused. It's impossible. You're definitely Lucas. I can't be wrong. We used to know each other very well. Liam frowned, his cold face becoming even more stern. Miss, I've definitely never met you before. Maybe you really have identified the wrong person. I actually don't know Lucas at all, he said, then turned and walked away, leaving Olivia standing blankly in the middle of the street. She looked at his figure, her heart filled with confusion. She was sure it was Lucas, but the way he spoke and the way he looked at her were completely strange. Is this a cruel joke of fate? In the days that followed, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about this strange encounter. She remembered every little detail of his face, his eyes, and his voice. There are too many similarities to be coincidental. Olivia decided to find out more about this mysterious man. She had a hunch that behind that strange appearance was some secret that Lucas was trying to hide. In the following days, Olivia tried every way to accidentally appear in front of Liam. She observed him from afar, recording every smallest gesture. He lived a completely different life, the life of a successful and powerful man. But the more she observed, the more certain she became that Liam was Lucas. Every gesture, every action makes her more certain. Once again, Olivia decided to meet him directly to clarify everything. When facing Liam for the second time, Olivia did not hesitate to ask frankly. Her eyes were full of urgency but determination. You really don't remember me, Lucas? We used to be so close. You couldn't have forgotten me so quickly. Liam looked at her for a long time. His eyes flickered with hesitation, then quickly returned to his original indifferent expression. I'm sorry, but you're bothering me. I don't know you, and I've never known anyone named Lucas. He turned and left again. But this time, Olivia detected a slight instability in his voice and attitude. She felt that deep inside Liam was hiding something. That made her even more determined to clarify everything. This meeting opened up a series of secrets that Olivia never expected. She doesn't know that trying to find out about Liam will lead her to dark secrets, past stories that Lucas wants to bury forever. This unexpected meeting, seemingly just a coincidence, is the beginning of the journey to find the truth, where Olivia will have to face things that she has never been mentally prepared to accept. And the only thing Olivia can be sure of right now is that, no matter how much that man denies, she still believes that he is Lucas, the man who once entered her life, then left in a mysterious and confusing way. But the biggest question now is, what is Lucas hiding? And why must he deliberately deny his own existence? Olivia will have to discover the answer for herself, even though the cost may be much greater than she ever imagined. Emma stood silently in the dim room, the light from the table lamp casting an indescribable look of disbelief on her face. Her heart was heavy. Every beat echoed in her head with unanswered questions. Liam's words still resonate clearly like a piece of music that repeats endlessly. "I don't hide anything from you." An affirmation so certain that it was almost perfect. But that same perfection made it impossible for her to completely believe it. There is something vague, like a thin mist covering all truth. She sat down at her desk. The computer screen lit up in the darkness, as if challenging Emma to find something deeper, a secret she didn't know. Emma took a deep breath, tried to stay calm, and started searching. In this digital age, everything can be found with just a few mouse clicks. But does she really want to know the truth? That question kept haunting her mind. But now curiosity conquered everything. She needed to know. She needed a clearer answer. Emma entered the name Liam Carter into the search bar. The results appeared quickly on the screen. A wealth of information, but nothing different from what she already knew. An incredibly clean life. A perfect profile, as if it had just been created. Emma frowned. Her heart began to beat faster. A feeling of insecurity gradually crept into her mind. How is it that a man who has lived for more than 30 years has not had a trace, even the slightest bit of trouble? Emma decided to expand the scope of her search, flipping through each social networking site, rereading every old post, every small comment. She hoped to find something, even the smallest sign, to prove that her hunch was correct. But the more she searched, the clearer it became that nothing suspicious turned up. Everything seemed so perfect, so carefully arranged that she felt like she was looking at a picture painted with the most perfect colors, but lacking realism. Desperate, Emma leaned back in her chair, her eyes closed, her mind reeling with countless thoughts. If everything about Liam was true, then why couldn't she trust him? Why did she always have a strange feeling in her heart every time she thought about his perfection? It felt like a whisper, a vague but very strong warning. Something was wrong here. Emma decided to try a different method. She started calling friends, relatives, and people who had known Liam for a long time. She pretended to chat softly, as if she was just curious about his past. But all the answers she received were the same. Liam was a wonderful man, always kind and good-natured, an ideal role model. But this made her even more suspicious. How can a person be free of any such defects? Emma remembered the look in Liam's eyes when he said he was innocent. That look didn't waver at all, but she felt something hidden, a concealment that was covered too cleverly. She decided to dig deeper. That night, while Liam was sleeping soundly, Emma quietly took his phone. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through recent messages and calls, her heart feeling like it was about to explode from excitement and fear. But again, there weren't any suspicious traces. Emma put down the phone in disappointment, a feeling of guilt mixed with helplessness gradually overwhelming her. The next morning, while preparing breakfast, Emma accidentally heard Liam's phone conversation. She stood next to the kitchen door, quietly listening to every word he said. His voice was still calm and gentle as always, but his fragmented sentences made Emma doubtful. "I know, I'll handle it. Don't worry." Those words, seemingly normal, made her heart feel like it was being squeezed. Why did he have to say those words in a whisper and secretly? Emma quickly returned to the bedroom, her heart beating rapidly. All her senses became strangely sharp. She realizes that Liam is hiding something big, something that could completely change their relationship. She couldn't accept living in suspicion and secrecy, but she also didn't know how to face Liam. How could she ask him without hurting the feelings between the two of them? All day, Emma tried to stay calm, but inside, she kept thinking about what she had heard. Liam didn't seem to notice anything unusual about her, but each of his caring gestures made Emma feel even more heartbroken. She begins to realize that if there really is a hidden secret, it certainly isn't simple. Emma knows she has to choose between continuing to live in smoldering doubts or bravely facing the truth, even though it could shatter everything. That night, she decided to ask Liam directly. As the two sat across from each other in the living room, the soft yellow light casting faint shadows on their faces, Emma took a deep breath, looked straight into his eyes and spoke softly but firmly. "Liam, is there anything you're hiding from me?" At that moment, the air seemed to freeze. Liam looked at her. His eyes flashed with surprise, but then quickly changed to a calm look, gently responding, "Emma, what do you think I'm hiding?" Emma looked deeply into Liam's eyes. Her heart stirred violently, but she was determined not to back down. "Tell me, truth or lie. Let me decide that myself." The sky that afternoon seemed darker, the air thick with suspicion and tension, making Olivia's heart heavy with doubts that she could not dispel. On the phone screen, a strange message had just appeared, a warning like a cold wind running down her spine. "Stop now if you don't want to be in danger." Feeling uneasy, Olivia's eyes quickly glanced around the empty room, where the weak light from outside the windows seemed to be fading. Olivia stood silently, her heart beating loudly, echoing in the quiet space as if wanting to break the silence that surrounded her. Who is behind these threats? And what truth is so scary that people have to threaten her life like that? Those thoughts constantly rotated in Olivia's mind, causing her breathing to become rapid and rapid. While Olivia was still struggling with doubts and fears, the phone rang again. But this time it wasn't a text message. It was a call from an unknown number. She stared at the screen, filled with hesitation. Finally, she mustered up the courage and pressed the listen button. A low voice rang out from the other end of the line. The tone was slow and terrifyingly cold. "Miss Olivia, I advise you to stop searching for the truth. Some things are best left alone forever. Otherwise, you will regret what you are doing." Olivia squeezed the phone tightly. Her heart seemed to stop beating. She didn't recognize this voice, but those words had the power to make her heart panic. "Who are you? Why are you threatening me?" Olivia asked, trying to stay calm, but her voice was still shaking. But all she got in response was a long, cold silence until the call was interrupted. She looked at the phone, her heart beating faster. It all seemed like a real warning, not a mere joke anymore. Things had become more serious than she had ever imagined. Olivia stood up, walked towards the window, looking out at the city that was sinking into darkness. The light from the street lamp sparkled like thousands of eyes were watching her. In that moment, a feeling of loneliness and fear enveloped her. She wonders if she should continue on this path of finding the truth that is gradually putting her in danger. But the truth, no matter how scary, is still something she cannot give up. At the same time, Sophia sat in her small office, the light from the computer screen illuminating her tense face. Sophia has just received shocking information about Ethan, Olivia's husband. An information that made her feel extremely confused. Ethan, who is always admired for his flashy, successful, and elegant appearance, is actually hiding things that no one can expect. Sophia has just discovered that Ethan has had secret deals with powerful people in the financial world. Those transactions, although not clear, were enough for her to realize that Ethan was not as simple a person as she thought. Sophia gently bit her lower lip, her heart mixed between curiosity and fear. She knew that if she continued to investigate, she would face the same danger as Olivia. But just like her best friend, Sophia cannot turn her back on the truth. She picked up the phone and called Olivia to inform her of what she had just discovered. "You have to be careful, Olivia," Sophia said, her voice filled with worry. "Ethan is not only the husband who betrayed you, he is also involved in much more serious matters. Someone is trying to silence us at any cost." Olivia fell silent when she heard what Sophia just said. The truth about Ethan is becoming more complicated and scarier than she thought. She couldn't believe that the man she once loved with all her heart was hiding so many scary things. This not only hurt her heart, but also made her rethink everything she once believed. Meanwhile, Ethan sat in his large office, cold eyes looking out the window. the light from the computer screen reflecting on his calculating face. He knows clearly that Rachel, the mysterious woman he is meeting, is the person behind the threatening messages to Olivia. Ethan doesn't care about what Olivia is enduring. The only thing he cares about is protecting himself and his secret from being revealed. "Are you sure Olivia won't find out anything?" Ethan coldly asked Rachel on the phone, his voice filled with doubt and challenge. Rachel smiled lightly, her arrogant tone full of confidence. "Don't worry, Ethan. Olivia won't dare to continue investigating. She knows the price she has to pay if she continues to commit." But what Ethan didn't expect was that Olivia was not the weak woman he thought. Even though she is threatened, Olivia is still determined to find out the truth. To her, nothing was more important than facing and exposing what Ethan and those around him were trying to hide. The more Olivia investigates, the more she discovers that Ethan not only betrayed her emotionally, but also betrayed the moral values he was once proud of. He let power and money manipulate him, turning him into a completely different person, cold and emotionless. The evidence is getting more and more. The truth is gradually revealed. Olivia knew she was putting herself in danger, but she also understood clearly that she couldn't stop. She needs to confront Ethan, force him to face what he has done, even if that means facing increasing danger. Who is manipulating the truth? Is Ethan, the cold man who only knows personal gain? Is the mysterious woman behind the threats? Or is it Olivia herself who is trying to bring the truth to light? The answer may completely change their lives, forcing each of them to face choices and bitter truths that they were never ready to accept. But no matter the outcome, Olivia decided to never stop, even at the cost of her own life. The battle for truth has only just begun. Who will win, and who will pay the price? That question is still waiting for an answer. The old diary lies quietly in the deepest drawer of the desk, where Lucas always keeps secrets that no one knows. Emma accidentally found the diary when she was cleaning up the room after Lucas's sudden and mysterious death. The small room, once a place containing so many beautiful memories between them, is now filled with cold and gloom. The pale yellow light shined down on the discolored page. Each letter seemed to fade over time, but was still clear enough to make Emma shiver as she read. Each diary entry is like a small puzzle piece, gradually revealing a horrifying truth that she never expected. Lucas did not suddenly disappear from her life, but he was forced to leave, disappearing into the darkness, living under a completely new identity, just for her safety. The more Emma read, the more she felt suffocated. Her hands trembled. Tears rolled down her cheeks when she realized that the person behind everything was none other than Rachel, the person she once considered her closest friend. Rachel, a gentle, attractive woman whom Emma always trusts and considers her closest sister. But now, Emma knows that Rachel is the one who caused all the tragedies in her and Lucas's life. Rachel, the daughter of a notorious gangster, forced Lucas to give up everything, change his identity, and live in solitude in exchange for Emma's life. Each line in the diary is a deep cut into Emma's heart. "I'm sorry, Emma. I have no other choice. Rachel made it clear. If I don't disappear, you will never have peace. I left because I wanted you to live and be happy. No matter how painful it is, I have to accept it. I hope you understand and forgive me." These words seemed to tear Emma's heart apart, making her choke and unable to hold back her tears. As time went on, the diary pages revealed more and more terrifying details. Lucas tried to run away from the terrifying force that Rachel represented, but in the end he encountered a tragic accident arranged by Rachel, causing him to completely lose his memory and live under a new identity, Liam. Everything suddenly became clear in Emma's mind. The pieces of her vague memories were now pieced together, creating a haunting and painful panorama. When she first met Liam, Emma felt something strangely familiar, but she couldn't explain that feeling. Now, she knows that the man she met, the man who made her heart flutter again, was Lucas, the man she thought had left her forever. Emma felt her heart break when she learned that Lucas was alive, but remembered nothing about her, nothing about the love they once had for each other. Emma decided not to let it end like that. She needs to help Liam regain his memories, save him from Rachel's control, and most importantly, she needs to face Rachel one last time. But does Emma have the strength to do it? Can her love and faith overcome this terrifying darkness? Or will it all be just a beautiful but fragile dream? Only time can give the most accurate answer. But right now, Emma knew she couldn't turn back. She must fight for Lucas, for herself, to find the happiness they deserve. Rachel stood in the middle of the dark room. The weak light from the small lamp hanging from the ceiling made her face appear cold and sinister. Her eyes flickered in the darkness, shining with malice and anger that could not be hidden. Opposite Rachel is Lucas, a man who is no longer as confused as before, but has become a man full of determination, as if he had finally found the inner strength to confront all the dark secrets that have haunted his life all this time. Lucas, do you really think you can escape my hand so easily? Rachel laughed coldly. Every word she uttered was like a sharp knife, intentionally hurting and provoking Lucas. Lucas didn't respond immediately. He was silent, eyes staring at Rachel, trying to stay calm in the face of harsh provocations. But inside his mind, emotions were swirling violently. Every word Rachel spoke made his heart tighten. The blocked memories gradually awakened strongly, like a floodwater rushing in that he could no longer avoid. Lucas took a deep breath, regaining calm in his voice. He looked at Rachel, his eyes shining with determination and challenge. He spoke clearly, his tone calm but powerful. I'm no longer your puppet to control. Rachel, I remembered everything. You can't continue to lie to me with fake stories. You can't continue to use me as a pawn in your cruel game. Lucas's words stunned Rachel for a moment. Her eyes narrowed, filled with suspicion and confusion, but quickly regained their usual coldness. She laughed, trying to hide the insecurity growing inside her. What do you remember? What do those memories mean? Isn't your current life much better than before? A new life, without the past, without suffering. Lucas shook his head vigorously, stepping closer to Rachel, each step showing determination and determination. The weak light shines more clearly on Lucas's face, showing the psychological scars that he has suffered for so long. He stopped just a few steps away from Rachel, looked straight into her eyes, his voice firm and clear. No, Rachel, the life you created for me was just a lie. I don't need the fake happiness you give me. What I need is the truth. I want to know all about my past, about who I really am. And that, as painful as it is better than living your lie. Rachel laughed bitterly, but deep inside her anger was boiling. Lucas's disobedience made her feel like she was losing control, and that made her even angrier. Rachel stepped closer to Lucas, her eyes filled with challenge and danger. You want to know the truth? Rachel growled, her voice cold as ice, but inside she was seething fiercely. Then I will tell you, it was I who arranged it all. I was the one behind that accident, Lucas. I have arranged everything to erase Lucas's existence in his old life, so that he belongs completely to me. Rachel's words were like a thunderbolt in Lucas's ears. He felt like the entire world around him was spinning. He couldn't believe what he just heard. Rachel, the woman he thought he could trust, was the mastermind behind the accident that caused him to lose his memories and himself. Lucas took a step back, a feeling of shock and anger welling up in his heart. Faded memories became clearer and clearer. He remembered that fateful evening when the car lost control and sped away in the torrential rain. Now, everything becomes clear. That accident was not a coincidence, but a meticulously calculated plan, so ruthless that it is difficult to imagine. Rachel seemed to lose control. In unconscious anger, she uttered words that could not be taken back. Yes, that's me. I arranged everything myself. Lucas, you are Lucas, but I want you to forget everything to become the man I want. I tried to save you from your mediocre life, but you stubbornly cling to the past. Lucas felt like there was a knife stabbing straight into his heart. The truth is so cruel. He has lived all this time in a lie. Rachel, the person he trusted, turned out to be the cruelest enemy. The one who cruelly took away his past, his identity, and his true life. Why did you do that, Rachel? Why did you have to lie to me like that? Lucas's voice trembled, filled with anger mixed with pain. He couldn't understand the cruelty of the woman in front of him. Rachel looked at him with emotionless eyes, curling her lips and smiling bitterly. Because you are the biggest threat to my plans. Lucas, you were too strong, too difficult to control. Only when you lose your memories and become a new person can I control you and use you as I wish. Lucas was silent, his eyes blurred with deep pain and betrayal. He used to believe Rachel, thought she really loved him, and wanted the best for him. But it was all a dark, cruel plot, a plan that Rachel had carefully prepared for a long time. Rachel continued speaking without stopping. Do you think you're the only one getting hurt? I sacrificed everything to bring you back to me, but now he chooses to turn his back on me, returning to that meaningless life. Did you really think I would let you go that easily? Lucas stood still, his eyes bright with determination. I am not an object for you to control as you please. Rachel, I will take back everything that belongs to me. You can't keep me by your side anymore. Rachel looked at him, the anger in her eyes slowly turning to despair. She realized that she had completely lost control. The plot she had carefully built was now collapsing before her eyes, and she knew that this was the end. Rachel stepped back, her eyes filled with rage and despair, but she also knew there was nothing else she could do. Lucas looked at Rachel one more time, then turned and walked away, leaving behind all the secrets, plots, and betrayals. He knows that the road ahead is still full of hardships, but this is the moment he regains his real life. A life full of challenges, but freedom. The night sky was covered with thick, billowing gray clouds, as if signaling an upcoming hurricane. Lucas walked into the dark room, his heart pounding in his chest, each step echoing as if he was entering a fateful battlefield, where it was not only a battle of life and death, but also a battle to protect the truth that he had to bury for so long. Lucas stood silently in the darkness, his eyes shining in the pale light from the street lamps shining through the small window. Everything here seems unchanged since the day he mysteriously disappeared. The memory of this place is still intact, as if time cannot erase anything. This is where it all began, where Lucas thought he had lost everything. In the darkness, Rachel stood not far from him, looking worried and tense. Her eyes clearly reflected fear as she thought about the upcoming confrontation. Lucas knew what Rachel was afraid of, but he couldn't turn back anymore. He can't continue to run away from the truth, and he can't continue to live with secrets weighing heavily on his soul. Did you really decide to do this? Rachel spoke, her voice trembling, filled with insecurity. Lucas nodded slightly, his eyes determined and full of strength. There's no other way. Rachel, the truth needs to be revealed, and he is willing to risk anything, including his life. At that moment, the sound of heavy footsteps rang out from the end of the long hallway. The two turned their heads toward the sound that was getting closer. The flickering light came on, and Rachel's cold face appeared clearly in the weak light. She wasn't the only one who showed up. Walking next to Rachel is Andrew, his mortal enemy, the man who once caused Lucas to endure ultimate suffering, the man behind all the tragedies of his life. Andrew stood looking at Lucas with a terrifying calmness, his eyes as sharp as cold blades, unfazed by Lucas's presence. Andrew smiled, a smile that sent chills down people's spines. Lucas, it's been a while. I didn't think you'd survive that day. Andrew spoke up, his tone challenging and arrogant, making the atmosphere even more tense. Lucas didn't answer right away. He just looked at Andrew, feeling anger rising strongly in his heart. Faced with the person who had robbed him of all the most precious things in his life, Lucas was no longer afraid or hesitant. You couldn't kill me that day, Andrew. And today, I will be the one to reveal all your dirty secrets, Lucas replied, his voice filled with authority. The room suddenly fell into a tense silence. The air seemed to be compressed, stuffy to the point of suffocation. Andrew sneered, his eyes filled with contempt. Do you think you can win against me by revealing things that no one would believe? Stop dreaming, Lucas. I'm the one with the power here, whatever the truth is. It is only important if people believe in it. And you can't beat me in this fight. Lucas did not respond immediately. He looked around the room, remembering the past. The memories that once made him feel like he had lost himself forever. Lucas was once a successful man who had everything in his hands, but it all collapsed in one fateful night. The betrayal, pain, and trauma changed him forever. But Lucas is no longer the weak man of yesterday. For many years he lived in darkness, waiting for the moment to stand up and face the truth. Today, he is no longer afraid of anything. Andrew instilled hatred in his heart, but the truth was the strongest weapon Lucas could use to defeat him. Lucas looked at Rachel one last time. His eyes softened a bit, but his determination remained unchanged. He understood that this battle was not his alone. It is a fight for everyone who has been manipulated, deceived, and hurt by Andrew. And then, the atmosphere in the room suddenly became extremely tense when Andrew walked towards Lucas, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Lucas didn't wait any longer, rushing forward with all the strength and determination he had. This was the decisive moment, the battle he had been preparing for so many years. Every blow, every breath, every passing moment contained Lucas's painful memories and extreme anger. Rachel stood outside, her heart pounding as she witnessed the life or death confrontation before her eyes. She didn't know if Lucas could win, but she knew one thing for sure: she couldn't lose him again. Lucas and Andrew fought fiercely, each determined to survive. Andrew, with his arrogance and insatiable greed, once believed he was invincible, but now, facing the revealed truth, he gradually becomes weak. When the first light of dawn filtered through the small glass windows, shining into the small room where Olivia and Ethan were sheltering, they both clearly realized that their lives from this moment had completely changed. That space was very quiet, but in that silence, their minds could not stop rippling with memories that were both sweet and bitter. Their story, which began with simple, happy days, must now continue in secret darkness, where sunlight has become a luxury, hard to reach. Olivia sat by the small, narrow window, her eyes looking towards the distant horizon, where the weak rays of sunlight at the end of the day gradually fell, covering the scene with a pale yellow color full of regret. The life she once knew and longed for is now just a fading memory, sparkling in the past but no longer reachable. Olivia clearly understands that from now on, she will have to live in new shells, where she cannot be herself, but must always be cautious, always maintain absolute silence. But deep in her heart, Olivia knew that the sacrifice was worth it, because next to her right now was Ethan, the only man who made her dare to walk on this uncertain and dangerous path. Finally, Lucas delivered the decisive blow, knocking Andrew down. Lucas stood over him, panting but filled with strength, his eyes blazing with the light of a victor. The truth has won, but Lucas did not escape serious injuries. Rachel rushed forward and hugged him tightly, tears filling her eyes. "Lucas, don't leave me anymore," Rachel whispered, her heart beating loudly in her chest. He looked at her, smiling weakly but gently. "I won't leave you again, Rachel. The truth has won, and now we begin all over again." Ethan sat next to her, his eyes looking out the window, looking at the gradually darkening sky. His face now carries a deeply contemplative expression, the mark of hurt and regret engraved on every line. He was once a powerful, proud man who lived in a world of glory and power. But now, it's all gone. He is no longer the proud Ethan from before, but just a man trying to find a little peace in the midst of a chaotic life. But in his heart, Olivia's presence was like a warm fire, warming the wounds he had endured. She is the only comfort, the reason for him to continue to exist, even though the life ahead is full of threats and insecurity. They both know clearly that living in secret is not easy. Every day is a struggle with conflicting emotions, between the joy of being together and the worry of being discovered at any moment. But in that danger, they felt a strong love like never before. Love now is not simply the attachment of two hearts, but also the consensus and determination to overcome all challenges together. Their new life begins in a small town where everyone lives alone and no one is curious about anyone else's past. Olivia and Ethan chose this place because it was small enough that they wouldn't be noticed, but quiet enough that they could find some peace. The small house they rented was nestled next to a deserted road, surrounded by green fields and a small, gently flowing river. This is where they will start a new life, a simple but promising life. Every day, Olivia wakes up early to take care of the small garden behind the house. She likes the feeling of being immersed in nature, the feeling of peace when listening to birds sing, and feeling the life growing from small seedlings. This is also the time when she can temporarily forget the painful memories and the dangers that always lurk around them. The bright flowers and lush vegetable beds are not only a source of food, but also a symbol of the new life that she and Ethan are trying to build. While Olivia takes care of the garden, Ethan often spends time doing simple tasks around the house. He is no longer the man with constant meetings and heavy work pressures, but instead, he finds joy from repairing household items himself, or even building a small table or simple chair from pieces of wood he finds around the area. Sometimes, on weekend afternoons, the two of us walk together along the small riverbank near our house, enjoying the peace and quiet that this small town brings. Such moments are always the most precious time for them. Stories about the future, small but hopeful plans they share with each other, helping them temporarily forget the pain of the past. However, no matter how hard they try, the past is still like a ghost that constantly haunts their present life. There were nights when Olivia woke up in the middle of sleep, sweating profusely, her heart pounding as she remembered the hurtful and painful days before. Ethan is also not immune to haunting dreams, where he finds himself caught up in dangerous situations, hunted by shadowy figures from his past. Moments like these make both of them realize that no matter how far they run away, the wounds from the past will always stick around, reminding them of the fragility of present happiness. Olivia and Ethan decided to never repeat the mistakes of the past again. They understand that to be able to build a new future, they need to learn to forgive themselves and each other. But forgiveness is not easy, especially when the hurt is still clearly imprinted in each person's heart. Small, everyday moments, like a shared meal or an intimate conversation, become spiritual medicine to help them gradually heal those wounds. With each passing day, Olivia and Ethan move closer to the peace they crave. They know that this new life is not perfect, but that very imperfection is what makes them cherish every little moment together. Because they understand that love is not always easy, but when two people really want to overcome it together, nothing can stop them. Life is always a series of days where we have to face countless challenges, difficult choices, and many plots hidden under the perfect veneer of society. But in the end, the most valuable thing is still the truth that our hearts tell us. Olivia and Sophia, two women with different destinies but sharing the same journey of overcoming betrayal, pain, and finally finding themselves, are a living testament to the unparalleled power of true love. Everything started with a crazy experiment, a seemingly harmless game that changed their lives forever. Olivia, a woman who had always believed absolutely in her marriage, had to painfully realize the betrayal of Ethan, the man in whom she had all her trust and deepest love. Facing the harsh truth, Olivia had to go through days of crisis when her faith and love completely collapsed. On the opposite side, Sophia is no better. The close friend she always trusted, the partner she once trusted absolutely, also made her fall into a spiral of extreme loss and disappointment. The hidden secrets of the past, the unnameable emotions, the doubts and fears finally became reality before her eyes. Sophia realized that the person she had devoted her heart to now had someone else's shadow. However, in the seemingly darkest moments, sincere love emerged stronger than ever. Olivia, although deeply hurt by Ethan, still found the strength in that pain to stand up and find true happiness for herself. She realized that living forever in a false relationship, lacking trust and true love, only made her lose herself more and more. Deciding to leave Ethan was not an easy choice, but it was the first step for Olivia to find the true happiness she deserves. Similarly, Sophia also found liberation in giving up her familiar but fake life. Despite the pain, Sophia still stood up strongly, faced the truth, and decided to end a meaningless marriage. She understands that, to continue living a happy life, sometimes we are forced to courageously step out of our comfort zone and face the most painful truths, even though they may hurt us deeply. True love is like that. It's not just flowery promises. It's not just beautiful photos posted on social networks. It's understanding, trust, and absolute respect between two souls. Olivia and Sophia both learned that nothing is more important than sincerity and truth in love. They realized that life is not always easy, but when we live true to our emotions and heart, we can find true peace and happiness. Meanwhile, Ethan and David also face valuable lessons from their loss. Ethan realizes that the life he built with lies and deception never brought true happiness. He lost the woman he once loved just because of selfishness and personal ambition. David, on the other hand, deeply understood that a love bound by secrets and dishonesty would never last. Although late, they have learned that only honesty can save important relationships in their lives. The story of Olivia, Sophia, Ethan, and David is not only a lesson about love and betrayal, but also a reminder that life is always changing, and nothing is certain forever. But one thing is certain. That is the power of true love. No matter how many plots, lies, or betrayals we face, in the end, love will still be the strongest thing, helping us overcome it all. Dear audience, each of us has at least once experienced the feeling of disappointment and pain when being betrayed, and faced the choice between letting go or forgiving. This story could be mine, yours, or anyone who has ever lived and loved with all their heart. Remember that no matter what, life always gives us a second chance to start over, to heal the hurt, and to find faith in love again. And you, the person reading these lines, may also be facing an important decision in your life. Courageously, step forward, face the truth, live your life with love, and never let past wounds prevent you from finding happiness in the future. Life always has dark corners and challenges, but sincere love and truth are the only things that can help us overcome them all. Finally, we hope this story has touched your heart, helping you understand that no matter what you face, love and sincerity will always win. If you sympathize with the journey of Olivia, Sophia, Ethan, and David, remember to click like and subscribe to the channel to continue watching the next emotional, profound, and meaningful stories. We are always here, ready to share with you experiences and invaluable lessons about love and life. Please join us on our journey to discover stories about love, trust, and the power of the human heart. Because after all, it is your sympathy and support that is the biggest motivation for us to continue to bring meaningful messages, to share together, to grow together, and to believe together that sincere love always wins all the challenges of time.